Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 3, Zach's podcast. I'm very, very excited today. I have an old friend, a very old friend I've known since junior school, but I think we became closer friends when we went to high school, I would say.
Oh,
Eh,
yeah.
Yeah, and we've been in touch pretty much ever since, on and off, but we've still been in touch.
Yeah.
So my special guest today is Dennis Hionis, who's a multi-instrumentalist and also is part of a duo called Pop Tones. But we'll get into all that sort of stuff later. Man, how are you? How's your day going so far?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty
Yeah?
good. Like, not the busiest day ever, but good and stuff. Good.
You were just telling me before you had like 8 gigs coming up.
Oh, well, not coming up. In January there's 8. I've done probably like 8 or 9 this month so far or something. But yeah, so like busy, but I just mean today's been pretty chill. So
Yeah.
Like-
So what do you do during the week, if you don't
Oh,
mind me asking?
yeah,
Like, we'll get into all this sort of, like I have a bunch of different questions, but
Yes.
as someone who pretty much is their career is playing music and doing
Mm-hmm.
gigs,
Yep.
I feel like during the week would be pretty chill.
Yeah, I understand why you think that. It's just because I also do the teaching stuff too.
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, so all the teaching, and then there's a lot of like my own hustling because as much as I'm doing all the gigs at the moment, it's not really like my end goal. You know what I mean? It's more of a means to an end.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy it, and I'm privileged to be able to do that. But like I really want to be a composer, and that's what my biggest sort of thing is. That's really what I want.
You've been pretty much playing music for a very long time. You've been playing since, when did we start playing?
Like year 8, maybe end of year 8 or early year 9.
Yeah, it was
mid
somewhere
year 9,
there.
somewhere there. Maybe probably year 9, probably early year 9.
Okay,
if
how
that's-
old were we in year 9? I think
Like
we would have been about
14?
yeah. And we're creeping up like to close to 30 now. So
Yes.
you've been playing for more than half your life.
Yeah, now it's true. Yep.
It's crazy, man. But that's the
Yeah.
thing, you've been working so hard to get to that, and you've been consistent at it too. But your very first instrument was the bass guitar.
I technically played the acoustic guitar for 7 months.
Oh, really?
Before I got my bass, yeah. I played my sister's acoustic for a little while. But bass is definitely my instrument. You know what I mean? Like,
Why did you want to? So you started with acoustic, and then you went to bass, and then you stuck with bass. Is there a particular reason
Yes.
why you did that?
I liked it. It was cool. Like I enjoyed it. It's just something that seemed to work for me. But I do think it's maybe an easier instrument in some senses to start off with because you can sort of get playing more adventurous things a bit more quickly sometimes. So I just think it motivated me more. You know what I mean? Like, whereas guitar, it's a bit more of a slog when you're starting off. I mean, basses too. They both are. Like any instrument to some degree is. But yeah, maybe for that reason. I don't know.
Do you mean like it's hard to? What's the saying with skiing? It's like easy to do but hard to master. Is that what you're saying for guitar?
I think guitar is easy. It is hard to do, hard to master. Like, like guitar, because I've heard things like the harmonica is supposed to be quite easy and stuff like that in some instruments, but I just think stringed instruments, particularly, more of an issue. You know what I mean? Just because there's more of a technical thing when you're playing it, and there's the problem that you got to use 2 hands at once. So like it's not like a piano where you can play any note. You could even get you see those videos of cats playing piano. Like you're not going to see a cat playing guitar because the cat can't do both things at once.
Yeah.
So it's really guitar. That's why I say I think it's harder to start than like with piano or something.
I can definitely. Well, I played a bit of guitar, and it definitely is very hard at the start. It does get. I feel like once you start, I think when you start getting past the bar chords, things start to get a little bit easier.
Yes.
It's just more of the pace when you start playing guitar, like trying to play solos, trying to play things really quickly.
Yeah.
That's when it starts to get difficult.
But it's not just quick. It's playing cleanly and quickly.
That's
as
true.
well. Because
Technique
there's
is important.
A lot of people I like. I mean, for all the time. Like they'll come for less something, and they can play kind of quick, but it's sloppy. And and then that's the thing of. Well, it actually, the guy who taught me how to play guitar and bass, he does martial arts as well, and he compares a lot, like, technically, and the sort of eye for detail that you need. So, because when he teaches martial arts, when you have to know what you're looking for. Do you know what I mean? Like, as a teacher, as a guitar teacher or bass, when I'm looking at someone, I know the things I need to do well, but when you're starting, you don't really know what the details are. And I'm sure with martial arts, when you're learning or seeing someone else do it, you can see, like, general good form, which things are bad. So it's that technique thing.
Yeah, well, because I'm a black belt in karate, and I
Yes.
was training for a long time, so you can definitely tell when someone's got poor technique or poor form. Like at the start, you can say, yeah, you kind of want to drill them a bit at the start. It's kind of like the same with guitar. You really want to make sure that they have good form and good technique at the start, even if they're very, very slow at doing it, because that builds a foundation to later on. Because if you continually, actually it's the same for guitar. If you continually play with poor technique and poor form, it's just going to have a ripple effect, and it's just going to carry on longer, and it's going to be harder for you to break that. Do you see that as a teacher? Like with someone? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, one of the things about it is there are a lot of things where a student will show me something they're playing and it's fairly basic and they can play it with their technique at the moment, but the problem is when you try to play it quicker than that or you try to expand it to the next point, because I'm sure someone could throw like a really basic punch with maybe poor technique, but when they start to try to chain different movements and things, having poor technique would be, it makes it difficult. You know, it takes away from it. It makes so they're fighting themselves while they're trying to even learn something. Like, because what, as you said about drilling the technique early on, like, I guess it's important with guitar because I want someone to learn the general technique first, and then so that when they, let's say, learn a song or learn to play something in particular, they're just focusing on the song, not on then trying to also change what they're doing while they're doing the song.
It's just muscle memory.
Yeah, like you want that, or understanding, you know what I mean? Like muscle memory, understanding, but just really deliberate, you know, just very deliberate. So when it goes to a song, you apply it well. It's like us, for example, if we were trying to learn to speak English while we were doing this podcast, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it'd just be very sloppy.
It'd be incredible. It'd just be ridiculous, right? That's why we already both speak. So we go to like do a podcast, and it's the most natural thing. That's why I always think of music like when compared to language, like learning a language and stuff, just in that way. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that's very fair. What would you say about music? Like, what is it about music that you want to make it into a career? Like when was the point? Because you started playing early, then you were always very educated, and going down a musical route is completely different to more of an education route, like going through university and getting a degree and going business or whatever.
Yeah.
But you decided to go through music. What was that? Why did you do that?
I don't know. I don't relate too much. Like, I don't think I've really related too much to being just a cog in the machine kind of thing. Not that I blame anyone, or not that I have anything against anyone or judge anyone who does. Is we all have different things. We all have different things that motivate us. I mean, in the end, I also did study music. Like, you know, like I got the degree.
Yeah,
and
you
did
went
all
to
that
AIM.
stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like I did take the educational route, but not in a. I understand what you mean, in a more conventional sort of career path. But yeah, I mean, what motivated me? I think I enjoyed it. It's something like, I think music's a very multifaceted thing, and I think it might have not even been music in particular, but the general things that come from learning a skill. Like I hear a lot of people talk about how just by learning a skill and becoming competent in something, like really competent, it develops your confidence, and like even something just in being totally unrelated. You know what I mean? Like, just being either like whether it's martial arts or if it's anything, I can like even just being good at really good at a sport or something, like any of that just comes, it just creates confidence and positivity, because when you do something really well, generally you get positive feedback from people. You know what I mean? Like when we did those performances at school. You know, like,
fuck, memories, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We were the first ones to do
Yeah.
a gig at school.
Yeah,
I think it was the very first one. We were in year 10 and we played at Speech Day.
Was that right? I think it was Speech Day.
Yeah, something like that.
I think the video's still up.
I completely forgot the video was still up.
Yeah, it's a video. I think
It's got 100,000 views.
Oh yeah, man. Man, I'm killing off the royalties. That's what I do now. I just
Oh, that's it. That one video. That's it. Living
yep.
the dream. Where's my money? I'm getting nothing. You're just taking it all.
Oh jeez.
Fuck, I actually completely forgot about that, man. But fuck, honestly, I completely, it's actually taken me by surprise, because we played that. We started playing that gig, and then, well, not that gig. That was our first gig together, and then things started to move for us in school. I remember school started to open up more music things. Then at assembly, they were allowing people to play music and all that sort of stuff. And I think, did we kind of start that movement?
I think we did. I think we did, honestly. Like, I mean, I remember there was the odd people that played music in the older grades, but yeah, really pushed for it.
Yeah,
You know, And then like, I don't know, doing stuff like I remember doing the odd thing in front of assembly, even like I think I did some solo bass performance or a guitar thing or something. And it's funny, even at that point, like when I think of how I was back then, I was pretty bad. Like I was learning very quickly and I just was putting myself out there. But like, yeah, it's crazy to think about. But it just in hindsight, like from where I am now, like thinking about back then.
Looking at it now, would you do anything differently? Or would you do exactly what you've done to get to where you are right now?
In regards to music?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if there was anything I could have done, it's just, I would have liked to have learnt piano. Maybe like, it was, out of my control and and had lots of different opportunities my parents gave me. But in regards to, they were never going to force me to do that. And when I was like 4 or 5, I wasn't asking them to let me play piano either. So it's the sort of thing. But if I'd learnt that being very young, it helps with composing later. And it's just very good for theory. Like at this point, my theory is very good and all that and well-rounded, but it is pretty nice being able to play it, like particularly as a composer. So in that regard, I would, yeah.
You probably played that earlier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think that really would have helped, especially with these, with like, what's it, Ableton, Logic. They're very heavily based sort of like keys with the way you can compose music and everything like that. Absolutely. So that really would have helped.
Yeah, 100%. So that's why like now my keyboard playing is like basic enough. I can get around, okay? And like if sometimes I'll just slow down the tempo and just play whatever I need to and then just put it back up to speed and it's fine. It's okay. But yeah, just particularly for more complicated things like because I'm doing more orchestral composing now and stuff, like that stuff would be cool if I could just do it really like, just feel with me.
What? Sorry, you said kestrel composing.
Orchestral.
Sorry, I thought you said something completely different.
All good.
Because I was going to say, what kind of genre do you play now? Like, what's the current type of music that you like to create?
Yeah. Well, lately more like orchestral sort of things. I'm in the what's called middle of doing a course on trailer composing, trailer music.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's very much like that epic trailer kind of sort of thing you'd see on like when they have like the Marvel films, things like that. Like pretty much every trailer, it's very similar. There's
that cinematic feel.
Yeah, very cinematic, but very epic too, just huge. So it's I actually been thinking lately that it's almost like the pop music of orchestral music, just because they're both a lot about the production. Not so much like I find pop music nowadays, it's not so much about the composition as it is about the sounds. Like when you hear so many people talking about music, people our age or whatever, but it's often like that bass, that. Like, it's about the sound. It's not necessarily like
what a fat drop that is.
Do you know what I mean? And that's all production. It's the sounds. It's not necessarily the composition. So it's different, and I just find with epic sort of music, it's a bit similar. Like it's very much you couldn't make that music with shitty sounds or sounds that don't just sound hyped as like super in your face, heavy. Like it's just if you tried to make that music with anything else, it's just flat. It's just not going to work. So that's why with this trailer music, I'm sort of getting my head around that a bit.
Okay, that's a big jump because before you were kind of composing. What were you playing before? Because you sent me some. Sort of, I remember files ages ago, but it was not this genre at all.
I do a bit of everything, but
because you're a machine, that's why.
I don't know. Anyways, but like but I'm working on different stuff. Like for example, there's a girl that I'm working with Pop Tones. As my Pop Tones is both my acoustic guitar duo where I do those sort of gigs with a friend of mine, Waterbar, but it's also we do produce songs for artists as well. And I'm producing a song for an artist named Risha, who's up and coming. And I think I showed you a previous demo of that track, and that one's the one that was sort of like trap hip hop.
I do remember something like that.
A lo-fi, like trap lo-fi kind of pop, a bit indie. And so I'm also doing that. That's actually just about to get finished. And
how long have you been working on that for? Because that was a while ago.
I took a bit of a break.
Oh, okay.
I did take a bit of a break. We sort of were happy with where it was at, but then sort of came back to it. Like let's say half a year later, and we agreed to sort of just edit some things. So I've just been working on it over the last month, maybe.
Do you find with music, like you can't, once you, like if you're creating a song, you don't want to leave it for too long. You kind of want it, like you do want to take care and make sure that the sound is great, but also making sure that it gets out there.
100%.
Yeah.
Million, like, all the illions that I can think of. Like, definitely. And that's something that I've been thinking about more recently too. If anything, that's held me back over all this time that I've been doing music. It's not getting things out there. Like, it's just because, you know, when you get things out there, you get feedback. You get feedback from the world and you find out very quickly, is it good enough? That's why the sort of things about, if I'm asking myself, is it good enough? Well, if I release it, I'll find out.
That is very fair.
So,
you know what you reminded me of? You reminded me of when I was, when I used to DJ. And this was when I was super young, 18, 19, and I was producing music. Like I would make mashups and bootlegs and that sort of stuff. And one thing that my Uncle Pete resonated with me, he said, don't worry about it being perfect. Like, because if you look at it and you become a perfectionist and you start nitpicking everything, you'll never release it. You'll never get it out there. So then I was like, because I was nitpicking, there was like, oh, I don't really like that hi-hat. Can I supplement it somehow, add a loop, or, you know, do something to kind of make it less, like, take the sound away, put something else in it. And he was right. And then I started going, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to release it and see what happens. And you are completely right. If you release it, you'll get feedback. And the more I released, the more I was finding more people were starting to interact with me. And if you become more consistent with releasing music, more and more people will interact. So I ended up I started off on SoundCloud, like you get the usual 20 or 30 followers, which is all your friends coming in to support you, which is fantastic. Yep. And then at the end, I ended up with like 600 followers. Which I was stoked. I remember I had this guy in Western Australia that was messaging me saying, man, keep up the good work.
Wow.
And then I don't know why, I just stopped.
Yeah.
And I can't remember why I stopped.
To be fair, I think you got to be careful that, because it's something, right, like that I've been trying to change recently. And this is on a less level, but for example, with some of these compositions, I always used to show people that were kind of close to me things that I was working on. And I feel like it's a cheap way to get positive feedback prematurely.
Yeah, because they're never going to say it's shit.
Yeah, well, they're never going to say it's shit, but it's not even, like I'll ask someone even when it's almost done but not quite there. But like in the end, what's my motivation to finish it? I'm already getting positive feedback. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, for you actually releasing and getting positive feedback, which is great. But complacency is probably killer of everything. You know what I mean? But that might be your thing where you got the feedback, you got the positive response, and then you're sort of not that motivated because you already got the good response. So, and then if anything, maybe there's a fear of losing it. You know what I mean? Because when you do well, then there's a chance it might stop. So,
have you ever shown a friend and told them that it was someone else who composed it, but when you really composed it?
I've never done it.
I've done that so many times.
Oh, really?
Dude, yeah. I used to do that because I at one point when I started releasing music, or those mashups, all my friends would go, oh my God, it's sick. You know, and I found it hard to believe, as bad as that sounds, because I really wanted constructive criticism. Like, yeah, it's great, but how can I make it better?
Yes.
That's what I really want.
Yep.
So when I would, later on, I kind of said, you know what, I'm going to tell them that I found it on SoundCloud and it's Tiesto's mashup.
Yes.
I'll just make someone else.
Yes.
And I go, oh my God, I found it. Listen to this and tell me what you think.
Yep.
And they'll go, oh yeah, the bass isn't that, you know, it's not that great. And I went, that's what I want to hear.
Yes.
That's because if I told you it was mine, you wouldn't have said that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people are very kind. Absolutely. I think it's good. No, I agree. I think it's a good strategy. You know, like I get it. I think it's good to do. Like, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. And you said I know it's bad, but I don't think it's bad. I think it's very fair. Like, you know.
Well, especially if you really want that constructive criticism.
Yeah.
If you really need feedback, because you know in the back of your head, you go, it's not great. It could be better, but I don't know what to make better.
Yes.
And tricking people to give you that feedback, I guess, is kind of good and bad at the same time.
Yeah,
but
well,
you don't want to like trick people, but in saying that, you're getting what you want out of it too.
To be fair, okay, I feel like this is a bit like marketing, right?
Yeah.
I don't think marketing is inherently bad. I think marketing that directs people to a good product is absolutely fine. I think marketing that directs people to a bad, like to something, you know, like tries to trick them, but
like a scam or something.
Like a scam, exactly. Like something like, you know, that's bad. But for what you're doing, you're just finding a way.
There's a noble cause at the end of it.
Yeah, like there's a good reason and it doesn't hurt. You're getting, yeah. And for me, I think that sometimes the ends justify the means, I guess, you know.
So when do you think you'll be planning on releasing that Like, so for anyone who's listening, the composition with Ray...
With Risha.
Risha.
Oh, well, we'll be doing the music video, I think.
Oh, you're doing a music video?
Yeah, well,
that's cool.
I mean, she's the one, it's her song, you know what I mean? So it'll be her music video. But I may feature, I very likely will feature with my friend Whatever. So...
You're going to be holding your bass?
Oh, who knows? It's important. There's a whole thing behind it. I'll keep it on the down low. Hush. On the down low.
You can tell me off the air. It's all right.
Yeah, all good. But yeah, anyway, so that'd be released early next year. So it should be good.
Early next year? Okay, it's not that far. Literally like maybe a month or two.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, so a month or two. So that'd be good.
Fuck yeah, man. One thing I wanted to ask was how did COVID hit you as a musician? Because I can imagine now, you were telling me before you had so many gigs and obviously everything's opened up because of COVID. There's no more restrictions. But at the time when we had those lockdowns, what was that like for you as a musician?
Yeah. Okay.
Was it rough?
Well, it sucked. I don't know.
I can imagine.
But it sucked for everyone. I don't think jeez. Yeah, I just think it sucked for everyone. Like, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. I mean, unless you're working for Netflix or something, like, you know, one of these streaming platforms or whatever. But, like, generally speaking, it just sucked. I mean, obviously, most gigs were stopped. I couldn't do, you know, too many. I was only doing the odd one.
You were doing odd gigs even during COVID?
Yeah, I feel like I still was. But it's just because you got to understand... I don't know, like, you know, the sort of this content of this podcast, but like I just did some gigs at the races, you know, like ran with race course, I think, for some of those races things. And generally, like, it's just kind of funny because even if, you know, most people are under restrictions, there are certain industries that get, what's it called, away with whatever they want to some degree. And, you know, like even like the NRL, in terms of restrictions, just ignoring and things like that. So there was some
I don't think they really
opportunities.
ignored though during when it was like heavy lockdowns. I don't think they went crazy.
I don't know, but there was still quite a lot of people. Like there were points where there were pretty strict rules for indoors. I just mean I mean, for example, like these rules, like you can only have a few. Like
you would know more than me because I was at home the whole time. So.
Okay, yeah. Oh no, there were tons of restrictions. There were points where like, you know, people aren't supposed to be close together at all. And then you see the NRL and it's just packed or something. And you're kind of like, you know, and even at these races, it's similar sort of thing. So, so I still was able to do some of those gigs.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it was good. It was good, but it's funny.
I get what you mean. It's kind of like a contrast, like, or contradicting, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's interesting to sort of say. So I didn't have absolutely nothing. But definitely not too many, like way less. I mean, it's actually really funny. Post this COVID thing, I think it's the busiest I've ever been in regards to gigs and stuff. So like even prior to it and all that. So it's been interesting.
That's been good. That's amazing, man. That's so good to hear.
Yeah, it's cool. I don't know. You know, I'm happy. Yeah, man. I don't know. So COVID, it sucked. I just think, but yeah, it sucked. I mean, the restrictions all sucked.
What do you, going back to what you were saying about you've been the busiest that you've ever been right now since after COVID.
Yep.
Is that because you think COVID's kind of knocked away a lot of people in the music industry and whoever's left over now, there's just a shit ton of like supply. There's a lot more demand, but low supply.
Yeah, I think that's actually right on the money to some degree. I don't think it's everything, but definitely a part of it. Like I've heard from people I know that like book musicians and stuff. And I've heard from a number that have said to me that like, just every time there's like a big lockdown or there was a big lockdown or something, they just notice more people just going away from music, just being like, yes, stuff it. You know, like it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
I can't handle this or I'm not willing to work around it. So yeah, to some degree, less scarcity, you'd think.
Because go on.
No, I think kind of it's less scarcity or more scarcity. No,
I get the gist what you're saying.
You know what I mean though. Yeah. So more gigs to go around. I guess in that regard.
Because, I think once everything opened up, everyone wanted to go out. So because everyone wanted to go out, now there's this huge demand. We need bands, we need DJs, we need everything. But the other thing too is like, but going away from lockdowns, going to the lockouts, there's far less clubs and stuff now. You know, there's far less places where you can go and watch live music.
Yep.
Which is not ideal. And the other weekend, just to paint a bit of context for people who are listening, because there's actually someone from the US was listening to this, which was pretty cool.
Oh, holy crap.
So we had these things that came in a while ago in 2014, the lockouts. It pretty much wiped the whole Sydney nightlife. Like that, I think that's pretty fair to say.
Yeah, it did a good number on it.
Yeah, it did a pretty good number. to the point where King's Cross is dead. There's no more King's Cross anymore. And there's hardly anywhere to go out. Pretty much after 10 o'clock, there's really not that many places to go to, in my opinion.
Okay.
But there probably is,
Yep.
but I don't know of them. Maybe because I'm old now and I don't know where to go anymore.
Good.
I've just lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought.
Okay, it happens. But as you were saying, so about the lockdowns, or the lockouts, the effects of them, and you were saying just about how it's been killed basically. Not too many places now.
Yeah, because there's not enough. I don't even know where I was going with that now. So fuck.
Okay. Oh, good.
Well, it is what it is.
Yeah,
it's a very casual podcast, guys. So
Yep.
sorry to be that kind of guy. How did I ask you how competitive your industry is right now?
No, you didn't. So I don't know. Like,
Do you find that you're fighting a lot of bands? Like if you're getting undercut?
not particularly. I don't like. I don't know. I don't know enough. I don't talk to the sort of people that undercut all that, like, particularly or anything. Yeah, I don't know. I don't, have trouble finding work at the moment, but it's more like I don't engage in that way with the situation. I'm not booking myself, specifically to venues. So I'm not discussing it with venues and they're asking me to lower my rates, or I'm not talking to someone who's asking me to the people that book me. So I don't know about that specifically. But yeah, I just think I've generated a good reputation over time. And so, if you do something well, it doesn't matter if you're a musician, whatever you are.
Yeah, whatever your rate is, they'll just pay it.
Well, not just that. I just mean to say that, like, whatever industry you're in, if you do a good job over a long period of time, people are going to ask you to work for them. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's interesting. But it's competitive in the sense that there are a lot of musicians. Like, there are a lot of people that want to play. I guess it also depends on someone that wants to be a musician just to play like originals, or someone who wants to be a musician as a job. You know what I mean? Because I know people also who they don't want to, like, I do original gigs sometimes, but I also do a lot of gigs that I'm playing a corporate event or a pub, something where I'm just doing covers. And I see that more as like a day job musician sort of work. Whereas like if you're just out doing original gigs, that's more like for passion, and that can become something massive, but very different. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Like,
it's like being a DJ, right? So you can only go so far being a DJ, then you have to become a producer if you want to go to the next level.
Makes
so
sense.
playing original music is essentially playing for the passion, but it's also going to take you to the next level.
Yeah.
That's why I'm actually going to have a DJ coming on in mid-Feb. I think I'm getting him to come on. I'm going to talk to him all about DJing and like what DJs should expect when coming into the industry. And I can imagine it would be very similar to being a musician as well, like playing an instrument. Yeah. Would you actually, this would be a good question to ask you, as an up and coming musician, do you have any advice to people, who want to become or want to play original music? I guess become a star.
Original music.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think stardom's overrated. I think recognition is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, anyone wants recognition. It's great. It's the sort of thing like, I just think this whole dream of becoming signed and being massive with the label, there's just a lot of problems that come with it, potential issues if they're not careful about contracts, because you can get
you hear
really
so many
stuffed,
stories.
really messed up. There are a lot of issues. So I just think for anyone like that, just, it's funny, there are different levels of it. I think just fundamentally get good at what you do. So, and also like work out what you want to do. Like if it's like an artist, if it's a songwriter, like it depends. But yeah, like fundamentally get good at what you do, be professional, like build your personality. Because in the end, there are a million different people that are good at certain things, but not that many of them have really like fundamentally grounded personalities that can be consistent. Also in regards to getting management, I would also just don't try to find it, because something that I always hear from people is if you do a good job and you market it yourself well and you try to build up a bit of a social media following, you do all these things, people will find you. The right people will find you, because in the end, everyone wants to take advantage in that sort of industry. So if someone's building up something good, then there are going to be people coming after them. I just think, because otherwise you're going to end up with probably someone that might be a bit that isn't really that.
Or someone that will also want to take advantage of the fact.
But that doesn't have like the background to do it, to really give anything back to you. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of, because in the end, and as I say, they take advantage, like for example, like Sony or something, these big sort of production companies, but they have something to give back. It's just their oil, but in most of these sort of things, they still want to get more than what they're giving. So I'm just saying, just that whole dream thing, like I just think try to remain more independent and be really careful about what you do. In regards to original music, I guess there's something they sort of talk about that, like, if you have 1,000 fans that are all spending $100 on you a year, you get $100,000. It's not that crazy. You don't need to be multi-international even. You only need 1,000 people spending $100. You need, 10,000 people spending $10 on you a year.
Getting 10,000 people to listen to you is that's a big feat.
But it's not. No, but this is 10. What I'm talking about is 10,000 really strong fans, and that is a feat. But it sounds a lot more manageable than trying to be multi-international.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That's what I'm just saying. My point is not to think that that's the only way to go. So it's interesting. I don't know. I just think there are more options, and I think remaining independent so people can retain their personal freedom is a big deal. Because I just think in the music industry, some of the biggest problems is if you get into some massive contract and you're like making them so much money, and you're getting a lot of money as well. Like, you can only imagine you're very locked in, and I'm sure it's not something easy to get out of. Not that I have the experience of being in that, but can you imagine the sort of contracts that need to be signed, and the way it is? It's just nothing's free. If it sounds free, it's bullshit.
If it's too good to be true, it is.
Exactly. And I just think if you're going to be that massive around the world, it's not free. So people have to be careful.
100%. Yeah. I think if you're dealing with like big companies, the thing they bring to the table is obviously that they're going to bring a lot of people as well. Like they've got the mass, right? Someone like Sony can bring a shit ton of people so they're going to ask for a lot more than what you're bringing. Because what realistically are you bringing in?
Well, what are you bringing? I mean, honestly, nowadays things are more about image. They're like, image, personality.
I think they're also giving you that reach as well. You know what I mean?
They are.
That reach from going to 10,000 to maybe 1 million is a huge jump.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I've heard things recently. I can't remember where I heard it, but I can't remember if it was on a video or I was hearing, I think, that just about how much, how influential these companies are when trying to get your music to like the top of the charts or something. Like basically, I think they just throw money at the Billboard Top 100, whatever it is, like until it gets put up there. You know what I mean? So it is kind of hard to get music up there independently in that regard if it's that biased. So yeah, they're absolutely like helpful. 100%. They definitely give a lot.
They have a role.
Yeah, they do have a role. 100%. It's just nowadays, see, in 90s, 80s, whatever, they used to. Like, whenever they would give someone a deal and you see someone get a record deal for like millions of dollars, it's actually a loan. It's not like they're just giving them the money.
Can you explain that? I don't know what you mean by that. Well,
basically, like, let's say they upfront $3 million so they can record an album. Now the artists owe the label $3 million. They're like when they sell the album, they're only going to get money after it pays the $3 million. You know what I mean? It's not like they're just getting fronted all this money and they can do whatever they want with it. Right. And they're massive. It's essentially more like a loan.
Wow.
Yeah, and even nowadays. So before they would, I think it would be more through like album sales and stuff like that. But nowadays they do things because albums aren't sold. There's not as much money. It's all digital, and there's just not as much money from buying sort of albums or songs and things. It tends to be these things called 360 deals, where the label pretty much just they want an artist to sign a contract so they can essentially get like a percentage of everything they make. That's why it's 360 because literally but like a big thing until the debts are paid. So it's just not easy. Like, you have to really be big, to do well.
That's
like
why,
actually.
Sorry to interrupt you. That's why I think you're saying you're very strongly saying to be independent.
Yeah.
And having a $10,000 people loyal fan base and being independent is so much better than even having 20 million people, but having that huge company over you and pretty much essentially just using you as an ATM.
Yeah, and controlling you badly. Because you can imagine these people they just have to go to do interviews, do all this sort of, just anything. It just depends what sort of person you are too. Some people might really, just thrive off all that social interaction or being like famous or whatever. Okay, cool. Maybe there's some people that it just totally fits into who they want to be, and that's cool. But I'm sure that a lot of people that does. I mean, artists actually tend to be very, I mean, somewhat messed up individuals. So like, like a lot of them probably. I'm not saying they'll have social problems or whatever, but there's probably a lot of them that would appreciate the privacy or just sort of like just a bit
100%.
to just like their personal space. But if you're part of a big company and you've been signed with someone that big and you're that massive, I think you're pretty much at their whim. Like I'm sure like there's some personal freedom, but yeah, I know a lot of these deals they sign, even I think they tend to lock artists in. Let's say the first album's a hit, then they have to do another one. Like there's pretty much like a clause where the label can choose to continue the agreement, let's say for 4 albums or whatever at their discretion. So it's, like it's not even like you do that one album and that's it. It's like, well, potentially if you do really well, you're stuck for a while. So
I'm sure there'd be a way out of it. Like, surely there has to be a way, but maybe not so easy to get out of.
I wouldn't say, not easy. I mean, different bands and stuff have contested these things, but often because a lot of people who sign up to these deals, when you like try to sign your first contract or something, well, they know that they have the leverage because you're no one at this point. So that's why people also suggest to try and to build yourself up first, because then you have more to leverage in when you negotiate.
Oh, 100%. So, if you've got status, it's a big deal.
Yeah, you can do so. You can sort of at least, and then if the people build up more independently, then maybe they don't need the label that much if they value their personal freedom and stuff. So it'll be easier for them to negotiate even in that regard.
What would you say if you were an independent? If you were, say, an independent musician with a good following, say 100,000 loyal followers, right? Yeah. Would you just release free music and just rely on the tours? I feel like that's what I would do, but I guess I'm not. I don't really know for 100%.
Well, to be honest, I mean, do you mean like national tours or international? Like, because 100,000 people is not that much.
Well, I would probably say national if you're talking about 100,000.
Yeah, if it's 100,000 in Australia or something, and you can just tour around. I don't know. I'd probably still charge something for the music. I haven't personally done it in a really detailed way. So I just don't know exactly. I feel like the more that you do, until you do something, often you don't know what you do. Yeah, okay. I mean, as much as we can speculate, and it's just something I think of a lot. I've been thinking a lot recently. Like, I always try to be less judgmental about things, but I mean, theoretically, I don't know, like, I'd enjoy touring, but if it was, like, for example, being a composer, as an independent composer that actually have a following, I might do it predominantly from home, you know what I mean? And just, be involved in projects and stuff, but maybe that's just me. But I do enjoy, if I was in a band and we're doing national tours and stuff, I'm sure it'd be a lot of fun.
Dude, I'd love to hear when you make an orchestral composition. Cool. When you eventually make one, I'd love to hear it.
I've done a bunch. I actually just did one recently. It's come to me that I should commit to releasing things. So, I'd say sometime next year, and I'll put a date. I'll work this out. But basically sometime soon.
You heard it here first. It's an exclusive here. Pop Tones, Dennis Hionis, going to release.
So that'd be good.
Yeah, no, that's mad, man. So how do you go about marketing that though? Like, do you send it to particular people or do you just put it on SoundCloud?
It depends on what the reason is for it. I mean, for me at the moment, it would be more like these initial tracks I'll be releasing. I'm more just to have a portfolio out there that I can sort of test the waters with, see if people are interested in it.
But when you say you do a portfolio, where are you actually going to put it?
So like Spotify, all the normal sort of things. Like all those sort of streaming services, probably YouTube as well, SoundCloud, things like that. And just have it so that I can sort of show people. I haven't done that basic thing of, even as we're saying, putting my stuff out there consistently. So I've spent a lot of time working on it. So I'm fairly comfortable where my music is at, but if I just put it out there, things will get going a lot quicker.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'll show you. When it's ready.
No, dude, I'd love to hear some of that. So, what are some things that people outside of the music industry, don't fully understand? So, I'll give you an example, right?
Yeah.
As a DJ, so when I used to DJ, I used to charge, or especially towards the tail end of my career, I used to charge about $1,200 a gig.
Yes.
Now, that's relatively expensive for a DJ, but I used to say, you know what, I used to go hire equipment. I would have to spend a whole day just looking for new music. like, and I'm paying for this music too. I'm not illegally downloading. I was getting it from iTunes. I was getting good quality sound, and all that costs money.
Yep.
And people don't recognize that there's a lot of back end stuff that people don't see. People just go, oh, you set up your decks, you press play for 2 hours and then you go home. It's like, you really think that? You really think that's all I'm doing?
Yeah.
I can imagine it'd be very similar for a band as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, it also depends on the quality of band and just the arrangement of it. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are definitely, I think once again, any industry, you talk to people, I always like asking people about what they do because there are so many things that you just would never thought about. Like I can't remember what it was. If it was like someone that was like a wedding planner or a photographer, and I remember them just saying to me that it's very seasonal work, and I just never thought of it. And I went, oh, well,
Photography
obviously.
and videography, really?
No, but for like weddings and stuff, particularly.
Do you reckon that's seasonal?
Yeah, I think it was weddings. Like just because it tends to be over a particular month, isn't it? The more summery sort of things.
I think
like there's going to be a point where it's more popular. Like weddings.
there's like the spring and summer is considered on peak, right?
Yes.
And then autumn, winter's off peak. So I had my wedding in off peak. Well, it ended up getting pushed to on peak, but I paid off peak prices.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so I was pretty happy with that.
That's good.
But even then, everything's pretty much booked well in advance. No matter, man. Like, and I felt like especially with videographers and photographers, it didn't matter when you booked it. I think if they have the name, so the ones. The people that we hired they were a little bit expensive.
Yep.
But even the date that we originally wanted at the start, we couldn't get. So we had to continually go back and forth with the reception, with the videographer, and finally find a date that everyone could do.
Yes.
So even though, like, I can sort of understand it being very seasonal, but I think especially with weddings, man, just there's no season for weddings. It's just fucking booked.
Wow,
yeah.
Very interesting. I don't know if it was something else then. I don't know. I just know it was a photographer. I thought it was weddings, but yeah.
I can imagine there'd be a lot more weddings. There probably, like in terms of volume, there might be a lot more happening because people want more of a summer and a winter wedding for sure.
Yes.
There's probably a lot more supply in
Yep,
that
yep.
period, but there's still a decent amount of supply.
Yeah, no,
in winter.
I get you. It's not like it's just gonna just stop.
Yeah,
No
exactly.
weddings,
It's not
yeah,
like in fucking autumn there's no weddings.
Yeah.
Like there's fucking weddings all the time.
Yes, I get you. Okay.
Like as a DJ as well. And I kind of steered away from weddings.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to a point where I just wasn't enjoying it anymore.
Okay.
The money was great.
Yeah,
it was good money
yeah,
doing weddings, but I just didn't enjoy it comes with pressure because it's their special day.
Absolutely.
But even then that didn't really bother me. It was more so I didn't play the music I wanted to play. I was playing music that they wanted to play, which is fine because I DJ for the crowd and you're supposed to do that as a DJ.
Yep.
But when you become more and more popular, more people come to see you DJ for the style that you play, not because of the music, not because you cater to the crowd, if that makes sense.
Yep, I get you. Well, yeah, I know. I guess once again, it depends on why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like if you want to, like if you're doing that sort of work, once again, it's like the day job kind of thing. Like I mean, when
Exactly right. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, it's just you're doing it. You're getting paid to do something. You just got to do what getting paid to do what they want, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And it's good money too. Like for weddings, like sorry, I keep saying like, and I'm trying to stop saying that.
Good.
But for weddings, you can almost charge whatever you want. You can't charge if you're a nobody, you can't charge whatever you want.
Yes.
But if you've got some status and people recognize who you are, which at the tail end of my career, when I was asking for that kind of cash, people were willing to spend it because I had spent so many years in the industry. And towards the end, it just didn't do anything for me. And I just retired.
I get you. I understand. I'm trying to remember how we got there because you asked me a question and then somehow I segued to.
Oh, we're talking about the
seasonal stuff.
No, we're talking about the concepts that people don't fully.
There we go. Okay, cool. So and concepts people don't understand. And I was going to say depending on the band and all this sort of stuff. Like some people, they do a lot of rehearsing, all this sort of stuff. I mean, the bands that I'm in, we typically don't rehearse very much. But it's just because we're all very professional. We've all played the songs plenty. We turn up knowing what we're going to play. It's not an issue. But for some bands, there's more of that. You know, like they're really more up and coming sort of bands. I mean, to be fair, some of the most successful bands, like they probably do rehearse because they're really particular about all the medleys they're doing and stuff like that.
That play originals or just in general?
Covers.
Okay.
I mean, originals definitely. I think the best bands definitely rehearse.
Yep.
I I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there's probably some that don't, but generally speaking, the people that really do well, they would be rehearsing a lot, all that sort of stuff.
And I think people don't realize how much people rehearse too, like especially top tier bands, how long they rehearse for. My brother,
Yep.
they're not a big band by any means, but they're hopefully going to be an up and coming power metal band. And I'm going to have them on the podcast hopefully soon. They rehearse once to twice a week, and they rehearse anywhere between two to 3 hours.
Yep.
Per
That's
session.
fairly standard.
Yeah, and that's a decent amount of time.
It is.
That's not
It is.
including practice on their own when they play just maintenance.
Yep. Okay. Well, it just really depends. I mean, how they approach rehearsing or what the purposes of it. I mean, when I'm in a band, I tend to think everyone should come knowing what they're doing in terms of the stuff. Shouldn't be like most people that are professional don't want people to come to like a rehearsal not knowing what's happening. Like essentially, we're just stage show running. Like musicians tend to just run endings. I think more professional musicians endings and starts of the songs, how they're going to segue, stuff like that, and then the parts.
Oh, like
in the middle-
transitions.
Transitions.
Yeah,
So it's
okay.
much more about transitions. People should know all the that's particularly, I mean, in a covers sort of sense. With originals too, when it's all together, yeah. I mean, but depending on the band, I mean, sometimes, it's good to write at rehearsals, but I think it's actually good when it's like a specific writing rehearsal.
I was going to say, how could you have a rehearsal without being specific? It wouldn't even make sense. You'd have to have a purpose for rehearsing.
Yeah, but I mean, not everyone's that professional. You know what I mean? Like music is a thing where, it's sort of like hinges on that line of a hobby and work, right? So I think you just got to be very, I mean, I'm going to bring up an example. Like,
go for it.
when we played, like, like I remember like once we went to Irish's house and I was,
That was so unprofessional.
and then I was like, we need to bloody rehearse. And then we went there and immediately started playing some game. We played like all night or something. And we got like no rehearsing done. And in my head, I was fuming. I was like,
I remember that.
And that's we're young kids. We're trying to learn. We're not professional.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Absolutely. But my point is, when you continue it, some people don't get out of that, or at least there's like I personally.
I think if you're treating it as a career, you need to
Yes.
treat it professionally. At that point, we didn't really know it was going to be. Well, for you, did you even know it was going to be a career at that point? For me, I didn't.
Well, I don't know if I knew it was a career, but I was definitely passionate about it.
fair.
So I don't know. Yeah, I tend to. I'm mostly like 0 or 100 in most things. Like I either take it, I just don't do it, or I do it really intensely. It's just how I tend to be. I mean, so
That's
yeah.
a good way to be, though. It's all or nothing. I kind of like that.
Yeah, it's all or nothing, but sometimes the middle ground's better. Do you know, there's like the only problem with that sort of perspective is that anything I try to do, it's going to take my time. You know what I mean? That's why it's hard for me, like, let's say play a game casually or do something casually, because I tend to just want to do it. It's going to take time. Then I'm going to have to put a decent bit of time.
At least to get good at it. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just a bit difficult for me sometimes. So it's funny. Like, I guess.
I understand that concept
Yeah.
because I started playing. Well, I didn't start ages ago. I had a friend. Actually, the podcast that I just released today.
Yep.
Shannon.
Cool.
So I played Apex with him ages ago, but I was very, very casual. I wanted to get better at the game, but for some reason I just couldn't invest that time. Not that I didn't enjoy playing the game, but I'm such a social gamer. I don't like playing by myself.
Yep.
And when I think you're going to play games or you become professional, you kind of have to build that independence of building sort of that skill.
Absolutely. Well, and this is the thing, right? And these are the sort of people that only practice when you get to the rehearsal. It's like, well, if you're going to do that, it's just going to be limited. The way you can play is limited. It's just, that's the sort of thing that just really irks me, honestly. Being in bands, that's why to some degree I kind of hate rehearsals. Like I'm not a big fan of them. Like I only really want to rehearse if we really need it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's just my perspective from where I'm at.
Well, you've pretty much got everything down packed anyway.
Generally speaking.
Yeah.
Generally speaking. I'm mostly pretty on top of everything. I feel like I have a bit of a knack for doing just enough. Like I never want to do much more than, but when I mean just enough to do a good job too. Not to do
of
like,
course.
I don't mean like just enough, like 50% it, but I mean like I do just enough that I need to.
You're getting a distinction.
Like a good mark. But I just don't just keep going over the top sort of thing. And so I guess I'm fortunate.
I think you get to the point, if you did that where you're just constantly going over and over, you probably just have enough of it and you wouldn't want to do it anymore. It wouldn't be fun.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, like, I mean, there are times where I definitely still over prepare for things, but when I started, yeah, I was over preparing for everything. And that's, because of lack of confidence. And just because when you're learning, you don't know what the bar is. On a lesser level, when I talk to my students, I always tell them, like, often when anyone learns a skill, they overdo it. It's like, I'm sure when someone goes to throw a punch, they don't throw a weak punch. They probably can throw everything at it, whatever it is. But then you sort of go, hey, like,
it's just practice.
It's practice, and you find that just right level. Or someone's starting to drive, and they're either going to feather it or fucking floor it. You know what I mean? So it's one or the other. Like,
You reminded me. Sorry, I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent.
Yeah.
Because when I first started learning how to drive, so my dad was a driving instructor back in the day.
Yep.
And he was able, I don't know how he got this, but he went to some mechanic or he went to somewhere and he was able to get a second brake pedal on the passenger side because he knew someone that knew he was a driving instructor.
Oh, okay.
Right. So he got it in. And I remember my first time driving and I reversed it because he goes, yeah, just let the car roll. And I let the car roll. And then he goes, okay, just slowly put the foot on the gas. And I put it in drive. And I just went, woof, sure. And my dad just slammed the brake. Lucky because we almost mounted that curb. Like I fucking pegged
Holy
it.
shit.
I didn't realize it was that sensitive.
Yeah.
And then when you realize, you're like, ooh, okay. Then you pull back and you can, like you're saying, you just do that 70% to go back to your topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the thing, right? So just when you start a skill, I can't remember like how that related so much to what I was saying, but I think it did.
Yeah.
When people watch it back, they were like, "Oh yeah, that's where it came from." But yeah, so it's interesting. I don't know, just like learning to do stuff, I guess, and I guess, yeah. In regards to me saying that, I was finding out how much, like the ideal time that I need to practice for something or and that kind of thing.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, I spoke to you a bit earlier about bit earlier before we started the podcast that I kind of want to talk about a different topic.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So one of the things that I found super interesting, because I think you know me that I'm sort of semi-obsessed with diet. Semi-obsessed.
Yep.
So you were, because I was like you in the past where I thought, well, not that I thought, everyone's got their own diet that they want to do, and that's fine.
Yep.
Whatever diet works for you, if you're thriving, whatever.
Yep.
So you were vegan for a long time. How long were you vegan for?
5 years or something.
5 years.
I think. Yeah.
And then you changed. What made you change?
It was honestly health stuff. I just was feeling a bit wonky.
Okay.
Honestly, I was starting to get a bit shaky quite a bit, and I wasn't sure. I just felt, I was just starting to feel a bit wonky, really.
Okay. How did you find out that it was your diet though, and it wasn't anything else?
I didn't, to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of the medical industry, and
Fair
I
enough.
tend to think if we treat ourselves well and we eat well and all this sort of things, that our body should be able to pretty much sort out whatever the problem is. So my tendency, I think I might have even gotten a blood test. Like I did basic sort of thing, maybe got a blood test and said everything's pretty good. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. It's like I feel like I'm a fairly logical person, but I also do things by feeling sometimes as well. And I just felt, it might
More
be
of
a
an
diet
instinct.
thing. Maybe an instinctual thing, maybe just to try diet, try eating something more balanced. And stuff when I don't know, balance, we can talk about these things. It depends who you talk to, but yeah, I went back to adding meat and stuff into my diet to start with. Beef and but I also believe in having ethically sourced things. So when I was vegan, it was more about actually initially more of a spiritual thing, like energetically. I'd heard things like that. A lot of spiritual teachers went like vegetarian and stuff like that, and I thought it'd be interesting to try going that direction. So I went pretty hardcore, like pretty cold turkey.
Like you said, you're 0 to 100.
0 to 100. This follows. Absolutely. Yeah, there we go. History. But yes, so basically went pretty hardcore to vegan stuff and I enjoyed it. I was cool with it. It was good. I think my main problem or some issues, I ended up I've had stomach problems since I was very young. So I just find having a lot of veg tends to bug me. So going vegan wasn't the easiest thing. And particular veg would bug me. So I ended up going more towards...
Do you know what particular veg? Sorry to jump in.
Sure. More broccoli, cauliflower, things like that. I think cruciferous, they're called or something.
Like dark leafy greens and all that sort of stuff.
Things like spinach and that are fine. Like, for example, I can even like pak choy and like
bok
lot
choy,
of...
yep.
Yeah, it's the sort of stuff that really bugs me is I know that yeah, you know, like broccoli, it's got those sort of, I can't know what the word is. Like,
Florets? Is
yeah,
that what
there's
they-
florets, those sort of things. Like, yeah, broccoli. I think it's just got more of that fibrous material. Like,
Oh, okay.
you
It's
know,
more of a dense.
yes,
Yeah. I
that
get
sort
what
of
you mean.
stuff. I think that's more what bugs me. So that's bigger issues. So for a while, I didn't even know that. So when
Yeah.
I first went vegan, I was eating that stuff, getting really bad stomach problems and bloating and all these sort of things. And yeah, anyways, point being, it was also a difficult experience for this reason to have a totally balanced diet because I also couldn't have a lot of beans and stuff. If I had a lot of legumes, that would also mess me up.
Legumes really fuck me up.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did an experiment where I decided I wanted to do a vegan meal every lunch.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, I could call myself a bodybuilder, which I'm really not, but I love going to the gym.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, I want to get some protein into my diet. I want to get some best source that I could find was beans.
Yep.
But every time I ate it, I just got this knotting feeling in my stomach every time.
Yeah.
So then I stopped and I brought meat back in and that seemed to be okay. So I've just kind of left meat in my diet.
Yeah, I get it. I get it, man.
Yeah.
For me, beans, wreck me
Yeah.
hard. Yeah. So basically, like I did it more for energetically. I feel like I felt good and stuff. Generally, I felt pretty good being vegan, but it's just towards the end.
You
of it,
look
started
good
to
when
go
you were
wonky.
vegan too.
Well,
Like you were pretty lean.
yeah, I was lean. Yeah, like I never. I mean, I don't want to make enemies on here, but I just find sometimes people eating vegan diets, if they're not eating enough, sometimes you get like really skinny, like so
Okay.
like you lose a lot of muscle mass.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, but not everyone's like that. Like,
No, of
let's
course
just
not.
say
There's a
as
lot
well.
of vegan bodybuilders out there.
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
But they're also hardcore about it, and they're really. But I mean, more people in the middle. Like I find a lot of people that just sort of go vegan, and well, I guess the reason is a lot of these people do it for ethics. You know what I mean? And they don't care that much or as much about the diet. You know what I mean? It's much more about it's not their main concern.
Okay.
Whereas for me, because I was doing it for how I felt, I
Yeah.
was concerned with eating enough and sort of diet and things. But I found I ate a lot of carbs. I was eating a lot of carbs, like a lot of bread and things like that. So I also think that's maybe not the best, or at least for me, it wasn't. But I tried to have good things like spelt and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Spelt breads. So it's a long tangent.
No, that's all right. No, that's
it's,
cool.
But it's interesting.
Very
I feel
casual
like,
podcast,
feel
man,
like-
relax.
Yeah, I feel like context is important.
Of course,
that's
man.
why,
Explain
it's-
yourself. Take your time. There's no time limit. You can do whatever
good.
you want.
Yeah, all good. But yeah, so as we were saying, so basically the whole vegan diet worked pretty well for me, but in the end, it was more health reasons.
Yeah.
Like, I just wasn't feeling great. So I
That's
went back
fair
in that
enough.
direction.
I feel like because I don't know how to explain it, but when I wouldn't say I was vegan. I was plant based. So
Yes,
I
yeah.
still had meat, but nearly everything in my diet was plant based. But I found that I had like this constant droning headache. And I didn't know why. And eventually I ended up going carnivore for 4 months. And I found that my headaches completely went away and my skin, my back acne disappeared.
Wow.
Facial acne disappeared. But then I got like this weird red patch on my face, which I don't know what that's about. But I got that from carnivore.
Yep.
And I lost a shit ton of weight too. But I don't think I did carnivore properly. I'd like to give it another go.
Okay.
Then I went back to eating animal based, and also when I did a blood test, my testosterone was low when I went carnivore. But I think that's because I wasn't eating enough calories.
Okay.
Because I was counting, and a lot of people when they say you do carnivore, you're supposed to just eat what you want, just eat until you're satiated.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I wasn't really doing that because I was counting my calories because I was on a cut.
Okay.
So then once I got to a really low weight, I wasn't really happy with it. So then I started including more carbs and I followed more of an animal based. Now I kind of do eat some vegetables. There's this guy called Dr. Bill Schindler, which if he's listening to this, I'd love to talk to you, mate, because I read your book, Eat Like a Human. It's a great book. He talks about like what humans used to eat and like, how plants have defense chemicals and animals run away. And the best way to eat plants is like having fermented vegetables. So I've been having kimchi.
Yep.
And sauerkraut, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't really enjoy eating sauerkraut. I'll do like eating kimchi more.
Okay. Yep.
So trying to eat more fermented stuff. I been able to eat dairy again, which is crazy for me. I've never been able to have dairy because I used to think I break out all the time.
Yes.
And the reason I tried it was because of you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you told me,
Yeah.
you were telling me about that brand Meredith.
Yeah.
That
Meredith
cheese brand.
Dairy. Yeah. How's that going?
Bro, ever since I've had that, not one breakout.
Yeah. Super good.
Yeah.
I'm glad, man.
Dude, I don't know. I think because when I read his book, he goes, you got to be careful when you're looking at cheese and when you're looking at dairy, they add milk solids. They add all this extra shit to make it creamier, to make it taste good, but it's not necessarily good for you. But fuck, man, like buying a tub of Meredith is so expensive, but I can't have anything else.
Yes, I get it. Okay, well, generally you pay for, like,
You pay for good quality stuff. Yeah.
basically. But that's good, man. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
To be honest, I actually tried, I think, one of the kafirs you were saying or something. I
The
think, what was it?
Bay Blue? Is that the
I
one?
think so. I'm not sure. I just tried a few after.
Okay.
I can't remember, but like I was liking it. I was enjoying it. I haven't had any in a bit, but I quite like it.
Did you get it? Was it from Harris Farm?
Not from Harris. I got it at this place called Unique Whole Foods or Unique
Okay.
Whole Food or something in Leichhardt, I think, and they're fantastic.
Yeah.
All organic stuff, really good, and they just have good quality things.
Yeah.
I got some kefir from there.
They probably do have it there. The more I think about it,
Yeah.
Because the place I used to go to was Harris Farm. But fuck, everything is so far from where I am. So if I'm gonna go to Harris Farm, it's a half an hour trek. I'm sure there's probably something closer, but I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
So
I get you.
yeah, I would. The brand that I used to get from Harris Farm was Bay Blue, and I'd always get organic raw honey. Fuck, love that shit.
Yeah, super good.
Yeah, but you're more paleo now, so you do eat some vegetables. You have a little bit of meat and all that sort of stuff
Yeah,
now.
basically. I'm having, and I'm trying to, like, I've been really strictly now, like, I was intermittent fasting for ages. So, like years and years and years. But recently I've sort of gone away and done, from this health cleanse I did, I've been eating, let's say, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but strictly, basically no snacks in between.
Okay.
So just super strict. And I feel like this is the leanest I've been. Like, I've even leaned
Yeah.
down more than when I did strict carnivore.
Did you do strict carnivore?
I was pretty strict for a bit, yeah.
How long did you go strict carnivore
Oh,
for?
I don't know, a couple of months. But
That's
then
all right.
but then went more animal based as well, and for a bit as well. And yeah, it's like I leaned down when I did that, and then I feel like I've leaned down even more since then, just a little bit
wow.
just eating paleo again. So
Training? Are you working out?
you know what? I got into habit for a few weeks, let's say 3-4 weeks, but I pinched my shoulder or something. It was actually pretty bad. Like I could barely move it. Like
Ooh.
it was really bad. Like going
What'd you do?
like behind. Do you know what? I think I picked up. I have this heavy case with all my gear and stuff in it. And I just remember picking it up. I took it back in the house, walked straight in the kitchen, drunk some water. I don't know what I did. I walk out, and then my shoulder just felt fucked. And I was
What? Like you didn't even notice it until
Yeah, I
after. You're like, what the?
I just
fuck?
tried to move back. And went, oh god, what the hell is this?
Ooh.
Yes, it was like that for like a week and a bit. I think. Yeah. It was
Oh my
really
god, you
bad.
were like that for a week.
Yeah, like it slowly got better, but it was bad. Like it was really like I couldn't move it very far behind. It just
Wow.
Yeah, really.
You must have. I think you're right. I think you pinched something, but
something.
I don't know what. Yeah, that's very strange.
I don't know, man. But then since then, like I took a break and I just haven't started again.
Yeah. How bad is it when you take a break and you're trying to get back
Yeah,
into
I
it
know.
and you're like, oh, it's a drag, it's a drone to get back into it.
Yeah, it was a shitty time because the minute I was actually getting to a good thing and I was feeling good,
Yeah.
and then that's just
Throws you out. How long were you? You said 4 weeks. You've been working out, or a few weeks, or
like
something
that.
like that.
Yeah, probably almost a month. Like I was just just basic sort of workouts, like whole body sort of
Yeah.
things. Like I was taking it easy to start with because I didn't want to like wreck myself just straight up.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. So it's interesting.
No, that's cool, man. Do you go to the gym when you work out, or do you just do it at home?
No, just at home.
Just
at home.
calisthenics sort of stuff, or weight training?
Bit of weight training, mostly calisthenics. Yeah, a bit of that sort of thing. But yeah, not at a gym or anything.
Yeah.
Just not that committed, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
I for some reason I work out better when I go to the gym. I think it's because I don't know what it is. Actually, no, I think I do know what it is. I love, especially the way I work. The way I work is if I have people working around me, I tend to work as well.
Okay.
Not that I find it hard to work from home. If I have to work from home, like for example, for my job for surveying, if I have a work from home day, I'll work from home because I'm getting paid to work.
I
right?
understand.
So that's completely different. But to do my own thing where I'm not getting paid and trying to work from home, I tend to struggle a little bit.
Okay.
But if I go somewhere, so if I go to the gym, if I want to go work out, I will do a workout when I'm at the gym because I've made that commitment to drive there and everyone else is working out. Now I feel like I'm part of this ecosystem, right?
Yes. Okay.
So, and that's why I also, when I study, I like to go to the city, where my office is.
Yep.
I like to do study in the city. I tend not to study when I'm home. That's just the way I am though.
No, I think it's fairly it's reasonable. I think fairly consistent with most people. It's just there are also a lot more distractions at home. But yeah, like you're making that first step, and then that commitment, I guess, makes it easier sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, but just getting away from all this stuff, because when you're home, you have TV, you have computers.
Oh,
like,
dude, so distracting because my game is right there. Like, I just
Yes.
want to play. I don't know if you've been playing COD or anything like that. I
I've
remember you were
been
playing for
Pokemon.
which one?
A new one, Violet, a little bit.
Is that on Game Boy?
On Nintendo Switch?
Oh, you got a Switch?
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, Switch is good.
Because is it very similar to the old Pokemon? Because fuck, I'm completely out of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like I've never had a chance to play Pokemon. I'm sure whoever's watched the last TikTok saw my little stitch up. Did you see the TikTok?
I heard it, I didn't see the TikTok, but I heard a bit of the podcast when you were saying about
I wanted to get the first few Pokemons. I got Pokemon Pinball.
Yes.
What a stitch up.
Yeah.
But the one Pokemon game I did play was what was the one where you'd like walk around? You can that was on your phone.
Go.
Pokemon Go.
Yes.
I got into that when it was the big craze.
Yes.
And you went to Rhodes, and I remember Rhodes had all this like crazy Pokemon.
Exactly.
And you go, oh my god, everyone start! There's a Gyarados over there, and everyone would start running. Oh man, they were good times. So how do you like the game?
I like a lot of good things. A lot of good things. I mean, if you look at reviews of it, I think everyone's pretty unanimous. It's just very rushed. Like,
Oh really?
yeah, there's just a lot of just very glitchy. But
Okay.
there are a lot of really cool things. First open world Pokemon game.
Oh, it's open world.
Yeah, but
that's pretty cool.
But it's also sort of not done the best in that. Like it's good. It's flexible, but they've done it so they just made it so things don't scale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like they sort of say you can go to any gym you want, but if you go to the last gym first, all the Pokemon level 80 and your Pokemon level 5, you know, like
You're gonna get your ass beat.
yeah, so basically, if it was legitimately open world, when you go to that gym, they should be around your level. You go to the next gym, they're around your level. Do you know-
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? So
It's kind of like Assassin's Creed. Like they don't make you start on the highest level. You build up, and then another place will open that you can go to.
yeah, exactly. But that's also more like a bit more linear. But
It
like
is, yes,
because
correct.
because it's sort of telling you where to go. But whereas this says it's totally open world, but it kind of isn't too. Like it's so.
Is it linear? Is it somewhat linear though, or no? Not
Well,
at all.
I mean, because the thing is, if it was totally open world, you could go whatever you want, and you
Yeah.
should be able to complete the game, right? Like without in any order you want. But basically, there's ways that you can't. You just
Okay.
can't complete it because if you go to the wrong gym and because it doesn't scale, well, you're just underleveled. You just can't
Yeah,
feed
yeah.
it. You know what I mean? So yeah. So in that way, they're saying it's open world, but it's still quite linear.
Yeah.
Because there is a natural way to do it.
I feel like you can't have a completely open world game though. Can you?
Well, I mean, I don't know about completely. To some degree, you know, things are going to follow other things, but like, but if they scaled, then you could a lot better, you know,
Yeah.
because it would just mean that just wherever you go, like let's say if you had one badge, well, every other, let's say, okay, so let's say the way it would start at the beginning, if you have no badges, every gym leader's Pokemon's like level 10.
Okay.
You know, so you could go to any gym you want. Then every gym leader's like level 20 after you beat the first gym or something. So then it would be like more legitimately open world.
It still sort of sounds linear though.
How?
You say because you're saying that every Pokemon's going to be level 10, but then another stage will open, and then they'll be level 20. Is that what you just said?
I'm saying all the stages are open.
Yeah.
And all the gym leaders Pokemon are the same level every time you get a badge.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So then you could go to any gym you want.
Yep.
And do it because it wouldn't matter. But
Yeah.
because of the way it is now, because
Yeah, so you'd go this gym. Okay, I get what you're saying now.
exactly. So in that sense, that would make it a more legitimately open world game.
Yeah,
But
yep.
I don't know. It's Pokemon. Geez, I know it's fun.
Yeah,
it's good
no,
for a
it's
bit of
cool.
fun. Like I don't know.
I play games as well. You know, I've still been playing COD. Really enjoying Warzone 2.
That's good.
So really been liking that game. Loving the multiplayer. But I think it's kind of like what you're saying about Pokemon. I felt Warzone was very rushed. I spoke about that with Shannon as well. I felt it was very rushed. It's very glitchy. Like some of my key binds on my keyboard don't even work. And it's very, very frustrating. And the problem is I'm not the only one. There are other people who have that same issue as well.
Yeah, it sucks.
But yeah. Anyway, I'm going to ask you one more question about music and then we'll probably wrap it up.
Yep, all good.
So my question was, no, I've asked that question. So what is the final goal for you as a musician?
Oh, okay. So, I mean, as a musician, so like, how broad's that? Do you mean like a musician, like instrumentalist, or just anything, like composer, instrumental?
Well, it's kind of like the final stage, like
Yeah.
where you'll be like, okay, I'm happy where I am right now. I'm content.
I think.
I don't think you'll ever be. I don't think anyone can ever be content though.
See, I was going to say it sort of relates to your first podcast.
Yeah.
You know, I think when you're talking about sort of goals and things, and even just like about just how far you can sort of push yourself. And with music or any other skill, once again, like I don't know if I'll ever be happy. I'll probably be on my deathbed composing something. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I try not to think too far ahead. You know, I'd love to be able. I just want to have personal, like to be able to do, like let's say my compositions in a good enough sense that I'm financially, what's the word? Like have financial freedom and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, so it's just being able to put my music out there regularly, you know, and just share it with people. Yeah, that's basically it. I don't know. I mean, in terms of my instrumental stuff, like just as an instrumentalist, I mean, I'm probably always going to be learning more instruments, so I just want to keep learning more. And probably next thing, I'd like to improve my piano playing more. Like it's functional, but it could be a lot better. Yeah,
I think the way you're saying is like you'll always have something to strive for. You'll get to one point, but then you want to get something else.
Yeah, basically. I don't know. That's probably what I'd say.
If you got, say, your orchestral thing took off and it was in movies, would you then consider going, well, I've kind of done well here now, I might try a different industry? Or would you?
Yeah, probably.
Oh,
probably.
wow.
Yeah, well, it depends how, like, yeah, because I mean, but the only problem with these things is like, you know how I said before about not putting myself out there enough is like, because I do enjoy doing different things and I put enough time so I can do a lot of different stuff. For example, I'm doing like audio mixing or producing pop songs or doing orchestral stuff or even just playing in different bands on different instruments and all this sort of stuff or writing songs are all very different things. So I can always go away from the thing that's the most difficult at the moment. Do you know what I mean? It's very easy to procrastinate through productivity.
Fucking tell me about it.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing for anyone. You know, like that potential to just even if you think it's productive and to some degree it is productive, it's still a way to get away from something sometimes. And I feel like that's my issue that I'm working on.
Yeah, I have that same issue as well. Sometimes where I find even like, for example, it's a bit of a shit example, but it's an example that I can think of. I will go, oh, okay, I need to work on making this TikTok, but I'll clean my room first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm kind of procrastinating. It's still a good thing to do.
Yep.
But I really should be working on that. That's obviously a lot harder for me to do because I'm not as skilled, quote unquote. It's not that hard to clean a room, but not as skilled or as comfortable to work on that sort of stuff than I am to, I guess, clean.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like it's something where, and that's honestly, I think that's the sort of most difficult things for us as people, the decisions that aren't black and white. You know what I mean? Because if it was like, oh, I should do this TikTok, but I'm going to play a game. Well, it's obvious. No, you should do the TikTok.
Yeah,
but when
exactly
you go,
right.
yeah, I could go do this other productive thing around the house. Well, then you think, well, maybe I should do that. Yeah. And then you can sort of let yourself do it. Actually, another good example is all these Black Friday sales and things like that. Because there are a lot of things that are legitimately good things to spend money on. But it's like but then that's the problem when you have all these things that are legitimately good. It's like, then you have to go to the thing of what's the most good, or is it really that necessary? I think
I've been battling with that. I've been battling with that lately. Just is this really necessary? Do I need this? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. I don't need it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, for me too. Like with decisions, and that's why like I like doing all these different things. And you said about moving to another industry. Let's say I'm successful in composing, like. But at the same time, like I don't want to think that far. I just want to do it. Yeah. And then, as I said to you before, like I won't know until I get there. You know,
I think that's fair. Like, that's a fair point.
Yeah. Like, and that's why I say this. I speculate. Yeah, sure, but who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's kind of like with me in the podcast right now. I'm just going with the flow. But I kind of did what you did. I just went, if I'm going to do this, it's 0 to 100. It's all in. Let's fucking do this. Because the goal for me right now is I want to try and upload once a fortnight, and then I slowly want to go to once a week.
Awesome.
And then do content every day. So the goal, I'm not going to say the goals on here, but I know my goals. Yes. So I can tell you off air. Okay, but the plan is to eventually do one podcast a week. That's the plan.
Cool, man. Sounds good.
Yeah, man.
Sounds good. I mean, I think, and starting, a bit like at a more manageable level and then ramping up, because I was doing social media stuff for a bit when I was posting like,
oh dude, I remember on Pop Tones you were posting heaps.
Yeah,
and I was trying to like everything. I was trying to show my support.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, man. I know
dude,
the
I can
content
imagine.
creation thing is like, I don't know.
For me to edit, like say this whole YouTube video, every 15 minutes for me is an hour of editing.
Yeah, far out.
for the full YouTube video. But the TikToks don't, because the TikToks are already, I just kind of crop it from the YouTube video and bring it in and just cut and add a little bit of things here and there. It's not that hard to make.
Yep.
But the YouTube video is just tedious as fuck.
Yes, I can imagine.
Yeah, man. It's fucking crazy. Like, I'll get better at it.
Oh, 100%.
This is only my third one.
Yep.
You know, so I'll eventually get a formula and get better. But for the time being, yeah, it's going to be slow, but it is what it is.
Yeah, of course, man.
All right, cool. Man, thank you for coming on. You're a legend. Big Sexy here. That was his nickname we gave him at school. Big Sexy, here to stay. Where can they find you, man?
Yeah, well, feel free. On Instagram, I got dcool53. I don't know, there's probably some description or something, some link. If you want, you can check out Pop Tone's acoustic if you're looking for any acoustic duos for your Sydney shows. Geez, what else can I plug? Can I plug any?
You got a YouTube?
Yeah, I do. What is it? Jeez, I think it's just Dennis Hionis. Yeah, if you look that up. So yeah, link can be there. I'll work it out.
Don't worry, when he releases his the composition with Risha, when that releases, I'll be sure to post that on my Zaps podcast Instagram page and share that all around. Man, thank you so much for coming on.
All good.
And I'm definitely going to get you on and probably try to get Stephen on as well.
Oh, good. That'd be good.
See you later, guys. Take care.